Hello and welcome to the Trent Advantage live stream series. Tonight's topic is chemical engineering. My name is Shanice and I'll be the host for tonight's live stream. Joining me tonight is Dr. Andrew Virginhill, who is a professor in the chemistry department as well as director of the chemical engineering program. How tonight is going to work, we are going to have a short interview to start things out. After the interview, we'll have a live Q&A portion as well. So if you have any questions that you want to get answered, feel free to enter them into the chat box whenever, and then we'll answer them after the interview section. So without any further ado, let's get started. So our first question is, this live stream series is called the Trent Advantage series. So what is the advantage of the chemical engineering dual degree program?
Well, I would say that the advantage specifically is right there in the name of the program. The dual degree program is a cooperatively delivered program between Trent University and Swansea University in the U.K. And when students complete the program, they receive two qualifications. They have the Bachelor's of Engineering in Chemical Engineering from Swansea, and they have a general Bachelor's in Chemistry, a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry from Trent University. So that's certainly a significant advantage. I would say another advantage is that the program involves a little more chemistry than a lot of typical chemical engineering programs, because it is indeed a chemistry and a chemical engineering degree. And as a result, for students who are interested to understand both the chemical engineering and a little bit more about what's going on in the world of molecules, that would be another advantage.
Awesome, perfect. So our next question, which you kind of touched on already, but can you explain to us what exactly a dual degree means?
Sure. So typically in a 4-year bachelor's program, students work towards a single major or maybe a major and a minor, but they would take roughly 30 single semester courses and in their designated major, say a chemistry program, and then they would complete another 10 or so one semester electives, and they would graduate with a designation, a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry, for example. In a dual degree program, what we do is in the same amount of time, in that same 4 years, we recognize the significant overlap between, say, something as similar as chemistry and chemical engineering, and value courses that you take both in the chemistry part of the program and in the chemical engineering part of the program, and count them double, if you will, so allowing them to contribute so that we recognize your learning in both sort of parts of the program, so that as a result you end up graduating with both qualifications without having to spend twice as long or take a lot of extra courses.
Yeah. Perfect, awesome. Next question. So since students will be working towards 2 degrees in 4 years, can you give us a brief overview of what those 4 years would look like both at Trent and at Swansea?
For sure. So as you mentioned, the way the program goes, the first 2 years are at Trent University, and then the last 2 years of the program are over in the UK at Swansea. And we can certainly, we've mapped out the course requirements for each year. Those are all available on our website, so I'm not going to explicitly get into course titles and particular details. You should definitely go and check them out at the chemical engineering website at trentu.ca. But basically, to give you a bit of a sense of how each year goes, in your first year as a typical science or science and engineering student, you'll take courses in first year chemistry, first year physics, first year math, first year computer science, and so on. And then as you move into second year, you will focus more, take a few more chemistry courses, organic chemistry, analytical chemistry, and physical chemistry in particular, but also to make sure that we're getting the engineering fundamentals in place, a stronger emphasis in math courses, stronger emphasis in computer science courses, and then of course a preparative engineering course that we'll be offering here in the second year of the program, entitled Chemical Engineering Fundamentals. And then from there, when students transfer over to Swansea in year 3 and year 4 of the program, they'll be participating in, at Swansea, they call the courses modules, and you'll be participating in modules involving more typical engineering terminology, reactor design, pilot scale and batch scale chemical processes. And then also tied in very closely with all of that is a lot of hands-on components involving working in their pilot scale laboratory and so on.
Awesome, perfect. Next question. So focusing more on academics and admissions. So what are the admission requirements to get into chemical engineering?
For the dual degree program, the program is a competitive one. It's a direct entry program. That is to say that students apply directly to and specifically to the dual degree program. The specific grade entry requirements are a function of the number of applicants and the caliber of the applicants in each year, so it's quite competitive. And as the program is relatively new one for Trent to offer, we are ensuring that the program is kept to a relatively small scale. So we're looking for an intake of approximately 20 students, depending on the quality of the applicants in each year. So it's a little bit difficult to tell specifically what the grade entrance average is, and it will be determined by the number of applicants and the quality of applicants at the time. The other component that's an important one to consider is that for students to transfer over between year 2 and year 3, for them to move over to Swansea, they have to maintain the program average of a minimum of 77% or a B plus within their first 2 years at Trent in order to qualify to go over to Swansea.
Perfect. And you just answered my next question.
Oh, no.
So if students are admitted into dual degree,
Sure.
it doesn't guarantee them entry into Swansea, like you're saying that grade point averages.
Right. So there's no reapplication process.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in good standing in the program, then yes, you can directly transfer over to Swansea. You don't have to apply to Swansea Engineering. They will accept our students, provided that our students are maintaining the program average required.
Next question. What types of facilities or classrooms will students be learning in during their undergrad?
Well, this is a good one. We're sitting in a laboratory in the Chemical Sciences building here at Trent University. And this is an excellent example of the kind of facilities that we have on offer here at Trent, but also that are available on the new campus at Swansea. All of the engineering facilities at Swansea University have just recently moved over to their new campus in new facilities, specifically designed to incorporate continued excellent access to their to experiential learning opportunities like laboratories. Similarly, here at Trent, our program very much focuses on providing students with the appropriate technical skills and hands-on learning opportunities that are so much a part of all of our chemistry programs.
Just a reminder for our audience out there, if you do have any questions, you can enter them into the chat box and we'll answer those after the interview. So next question. So hands-on and career-related experience is important for any program. So can you talk about the possible experiential learning opportunities with the dual degree program both at Trent and Swansea?
Okay, yes, for sure. Well, I was just saying that laboratories are such a big part of both the chemistry and the chemical engineering component of the program. We value lab learning for all of our students and all of our different chemistry, chemical engineering programs. For example, in first year, in the science courses in chemistry and physics, they're participating in hands-on labs for appropriate to first year science levels, making sure that students have the background that they require, but also giving them the opportunity to really develop their technical skills and put in place or practice the hands-on pieces related to the theory that they're learning in class. And that really is an important theme, especially as we move from first year to second year, where every one of the science courses will have a wet chemistry lab component attached to it. So organic chemistry labs, and analytical chemistry labs, and physical chemistry labs. And then, of course, as we move over to Swansea for year 3 and year 4, one of the things that Swansea is rightly proud of is their engagement with the students in the laboratory context, where for the engineering programs, they run their modules a little bit differently, where a given course doesn't have a laboratory, but that the laboratory experiences are actually their own modules. And so as a result, students participate in a lot of group work in their pilot laboratory, for example. In year 3, they're developing a lot of the skills that they need to design and put into and actually implement in their own way within the laboratories. And for example, in year 4, one of the culminating tasks, one of the really big sort of project parts of the final year, is a large group project where each group designs a fraction of a pilot plant, and then in the end they bring all the groups together to construct an actual operating pilot plant right within the laboratory, which I think is a tremendous opportunity for students to really understand how far they've come and what they've all learned.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Our next question, does Trent or Swansea offer students any assistance when it comes to finding housing?
Yes, housing is an important question no matter where you look these days. Certainly here at Trent, as a Trent student, we have the Trent incoming first year student housing opportunities here on campus. And that's certainly something very valuable for finding your feet here on campus and getting to know the students on campus and making good connections with your own learning community. As students then move over from when they complete year 2 here at Trent, of course, they're on the move as they go to Swansea. So at Swansea does not provide a residence guarantee for their first year students, and our engineering students moving over to Swansea are technically entering into year 2 of the program. So they're not first year students. However, Swansea and the program here at Trent are committed to facilitating student success in finding housing. The town of Swansea is very much aware of the important role that students play, and so there is a lot of housing available there.
Awesome. Our next question. So since Swansea is in the UK, how much is expected for tuition? And is there any financial aid provided for Trent students?
So that's a good question. It's an important distinction. One of the things that we haven't talked about very much yet is the internationalization component of the Trent Swansea Chemistry Chemical Engineering dual degree program. One feature of that, of course, is that students are having the opportunity to study in 2 different countries, and certainly, well, here at Trent, students are paying typical undergraduate tuitions, whether that's an undergraduate domestic student tuition or an international student tuition. All of those pieces of data are available on the Trent websites, of course. When students move over to Swansea, if, for example, they're a Canadian citizen, then they are international students in the UK, and so their tuition fees are those of international students. So the tuition fees can be substantial. I believe this year, I don't know the figures for this coming year, but this current academic year, the international student fees, student tuition for the chemical engineering program were £20,000. So that's in British pounds, and is international tuition. So it is substantial. I will say, though, that Swansea and Trent have been working on that as a way of sort of reducing the impact that has on students' opportunities. And so Swansea has put in place a £3,000 per year bursary available to Trent students for each of the 2 years that the students are at Swansea. That can really help make a difference in reducing the costs there.
Sure, definitely very helpful. Our next question. So what if a student decides they no longer want to go into Swansea or no longer want to pursue the dual degree program? Will they still be able to graduate from Trent with an undergraduate degree?
So yes, I mean, of course, we're hoping that our students will continue to be engaged in the chemistry, chemical engineering dual degree program. But if, for example, a student's thinking evolves into something different as they've been enjoying their time here at Trent and they see that their skills lie somewhere else, yes, there's certainly an opportunity for students to transfer into a four-year program here at Trent. The most logical connection, given the 2 years, or say, it depends on when the student makes their mind up about this, but the most logical connection to a program here at Trent in a four-year context would be our chemical physics degree, which is a combination, again, basically the courses that you will have taken in year one and most of the courses you will have taken in year two are really right in line with what you would need to take for the chemical physics program. So that would be a very natural fit and not a very difficult transition. Again, particularly depending on when the student reaches this conclusion and starts looking at what courses they need to complete their degree program. The other alternative would be something like a chemistry program, which would also be accessible. There would be some courses that they would need to go back and fill in year two because they're not taking all of our chemistry courses, but certainly there's many opportunities like that.
Perfect. Awesome. Next question. So since students will be a chemical engineering at Swansea in the UK, will they be able to seek employment in Canada? And if so, are there any qualifications or tests that will need to be completed?
Right. So it's important to lay out a few distinctions here. Trent is not the university that grants the chemical engineering degree. So it is Swansea University that grants the chemical engineering degree. As a result, at Swansea is a chartered engineering school in the UK. So their students are chartered engineers in the UK. But just as is true for any internationally qualified graduate of an engineering program, to come back and work, say, as an engineer within Canada, they need to seek certification through the accreditation board. In the case of Ontario, for example, it's the Professional Engineers of Ontario. Each province manages its own certification process, although that is overseen by a body that manages that, the AECB. But the point is that graduating with a qualified B.Eng degree prepares students to return to Canada and evaluate the curriculum that the students have pursued during their undergraduate engineering degree. They would evaluate, as they do for all engineers from any domestic or international engineering program, they would evaluate the work experience of that candidate. Every engineer who's a certified engineer has to have 48 months of engineering work experience before they can become a certified engineer. And then they all also must write some evaluative exams. In particular, it's the ethics exam for engineers who are trained here in Canada, for engineers who are for engineering graduates who are trained internationally. There may be other exams depending on the evaluation from the Professional Engineers of Ontario, for example, where they might assess, well, we'd like to know a little bit more about your qualifications in this area or that area. I should point out that there are engineering graduates from Swansea University, from their chemical engineering program, certified to work here in Ontario as engineers at the moment. So it's not that there's any particular challenge between the curriculum, and we've worked hard to match the curriculum, but graduates from the program do have to undergo a process where their training is evaluated so that they can be certified back here in Canada.
Makes sense. Awesome. Next question. Are there other fields of engineering offered if students are looking to switch to something like mechanical or civil, etc.?
So at the moment, no. At the moment, our focus is on the chemical engineering program. It was the one that has the best fit with our chemistry dual degree. And although we are in conversation with Swansea about a variety of possible extensions to the program. At the moment, the program is purely in chemical engineering.
Perfect. Awesome. And then, so although this program is fairly new to Trent, what types of jobs do you see students pursuing after graduation?
For sure. Chemical engineering and chemistry, the combination of the two of the dual degrees, is a really potent set of credentials for working in just a tremendous range of industrial opportunities or in government or even in academia. Certainly, for example, most chemical engineers end up working in industry. Just about any industry you can think of employs chemical engineers. Some of the really big ones are the energy industry, anything involving hydro or wind or solar or nuclear. Also the oil industry or the automotive industry. All of these kinds of sectors employ chemical engineers doing the sorts of things that you would be trained for through this program.
Perfect. Awesome. And then our last question, who is the best person to contact if students have any further questions about the program?
For sure. Me, probably. I'm the director of the chemical engineering program. The best way to be in touch and ask any follow-up questions that people might have is to email chemicalengineering@trentu.ca, just one whole word, chemicalengineering@trentu.ca. And eventually that email gets to me, and we're happy to respond to any kind of inquiries you might have, whether it's about details about the courses or just some follow-up questions that our conversation might have triggered for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. And now we do have our Q&A portion, so if you did have any questions, you can enter them into the chat box now. One thing I guess I would like to say, ask for the audience is maybe just a piece of advice that you might have for students looking to go into this degree. Maybe they're not sure if chemical engineering is for them, and what you can say to them if they're still wondering if it's for them.
For sure. So I would say that if taking things apart and putting them back together is something that's always appealed to you, if you've borrowed tools from someone's toolbox at home, or if you've enjoyed working with or wondering how things work, then that combination of being a scientist and being an engineer is probably already in your DNA. There are many different ways to put that into practice, but this is one good example, I think, of ways that people can wonder how things work, get involved with how to change things and make things better. And so I think in that respect, chemical engineering is really for the curious.
Perfect. Awesome. We do have a Q&A question here from Luke, and they want to know if there's any scholarships and bursaries from Swansea that students can apply for in their second year at Trent.
For sure. Well, the automatic one is the one I think that is the most valuable. 3,000 U.K., £3,000 for each of the 2 years that you would be in Swansea is available to you immediately as a student in good standing. You qualify for the bursary without having to apply for it. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind. I'm not particularly familiar with the other scholarships that Swansea might offer as a separate university. You're more than welcome to go and take a look at their bursaries pages. They have a really impressive website. So I think that might be a good first place to look.
Perfect. Awesome. Another question. Does OSAP apply for your years at Swansea?
Yes, it does. There is a term that I'm going to completely forget now, but OSAP, Swansea is an OSAP eligible international destination. So if you qualify for OSAP, then you can expend OSAP funds at Swansea. Exactly the technical elements of how to do that will vary substantially, probably between now and then anyways. So we won't get into the particulars, but yes, Swansea is an OSAP qualified school.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for our Q&A portion. So again, I'd like to thank Andrew so much for answering all those questions, and thank you all for joining us. If you missed the beginning of this live stream, you can watch it in our YouTube channel. And if you do have any questions you didn't get answered, you can also contact our Trent line, which is 1-888-739-8885, or you can send us an email at discovertrent@trentu.ca. Thank you as well, and have a good night.